Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into the life of one of the most remarkable and, frankly, deeply polarizing figures of our time, Imran Ahmed Khan Niazi. It's a story that starts back in 1952 in the streets of Lahore, peaks at the absolute pinnacle of global sports, and ultimately lands in the highest, most volatile echelons of political power. Whether you view him as a visionary anti-corruption reformer or a contested populist, his journey is undeniably one of the most fascinating political narratives in modern history.
So how exactly does a national sporting hero transition into a country's highest political office? And what triggers the dramatic constitutional crisis that brings him down? We're looking at a man who spent decades reinventing himself. He defied all the odds on the cricket pitch, and then attempted to do the exact same thing in the incredibly complex arena of Pakistani politics. To make sense of it all, here is our roadmap for today. We'll be covering his Oxford and cricket glory, his pivot into philanthropy and early politics, the explosive rise of PTI, his welfare and Naya Pakistan initiatives, and finally, the no confidence vote. Part 1. Oxford and cricket glory. Before the massive global fame, Khan's early life took him from Aitchison College to spending the 1970s at Oxford University. And he wasn't just there to play sports. He studied PPE, philosophy, politics, and economics, and was selected as a Rhodes Scholar. PPE is widely known as a training ground for global leaders, and this education gave him the analytical framework he'd rely on decades later to navigate international relations and complex political systems. But to really understand his leadership style, you have to look at the 1992 Cricket World Cup. Imagine the scene for a second. Khan is 39 years old, coming out of retirement with a bad shoulder injury, leading a Pakistani team that was seriously struggling early in the tournament. Facing total elimination, he gave this legendary speech telling his fractured team to fight like cornered tigers, because a tiger is literally at its most dangerous when it's cornered. It was an absolute masterclass in aggressive self-belief. And that sheer grit paid off spectacularly against England in the final. Propelled by Khan's own crucial 72-run knock and legendary fast bowler Wasim Akram's devastating reverse swing, Pakistan secured its historic first World Cup title. It elevated Khan to the ultimate pedestal of national heroism. He had proven he could lead a team from the absolute brink of defeat to total victory. Part 2. Philanthropy and early politics. Rather than retiring quietly after that World Cup win, Khan leveraged his immense fame for a deeply personal cause. After losing his mother to cancer, he established the Shaukat Hanu Memorial Cancer Hospital in Lahore and later Namal University. Built largely on public donations, the hospital aimed to provide internationally recognized free cancer treatment to those who simply couldn't afford it. Crucially, this proved to the public that Khan wasn't just a sports star. He could actually deliver massive, complex institutional projects. Now, you might assume a beloved national hero would immediately sweep an election, right? Well, not quite. He launched his political party, the PTI, or Movement for Justice, in 1996 with promises of accountability and anti-corruption reforms. But for years, he was a lone voice. The party didn't win a single seat in 1997, and it took until 2002 for Khan to win his very first, and at the time only, parliamentary seat. It was a brutal, years-long lesson in grassroots politics. Part 3. The Rise of PTI. Over the next 2 decades, Khan managed to rally a massive following, particularly among the urban middle class and the youth. His core promise? A Naya Pakistan, a new Pakistan. He heavily referenced Islamic history, specifically the welfare state of Medina, to promise an equitable society. His message really resonated because he positioned himself as the clean outsider, completely separate from the entrenched political elite, whom he accused of treating the country like a personal fiefdom. Khan mastered the use of street agitation and social media to gain critical mass. After PTI formed a provincial government in 2013, he led relentless months-long sit-ins protesting alleged electoral rigging. This aggressive momentum finally culminated in his 2018 general election victory, making him Pakistan's 22nd prime minister. It's important to note here, to keep things balanced, that opposition parties and critics strongly allege this victory was facilitated by Pakistan's powerful military establishment, a claim that both Khan and the military flatly denied. Part 4. Welfare and Naya Pakistan.
Once in office, supporters point to a number of major initiatives, like the massive 10 billion tree tsunami environmental project, digital government reforms, and a widely praised smart lockdown approach to managing COVID-19. But the absolute cornerstone of his domestic policy was the ESOS strategy. This was a staggering government-wide initiative designed to provide a direct safety net for at least 10 million marginalized families, trying to structurally counter the elite capture he had campaigned against for so long.
The program was meticulously structured around these four main pillars. It wasn't just about handing out cash, it was basically a giant puzzle. It targeted governance, built safety nets, invested heavily in human capital like education and tackling malnutrition, and aimed to create millions of livelihood opportunities. It was an ambitious blueprint to directly link government resources to the country's most vulnerable citizens.
Alongside ESOS was the Sehat Sahalat program. Because healthcare affordability is such a massive crisis that regularly pushes families into bankruptcy, this government-funded health insurance initiative provided free inpatient healthcare to underprivileged populations, expanding significantly across the country. And the impact was very tangible. Studies showed a massive 80% reduction in monthly out-of-pocket health expenditures for vulnerable patients dealing with devastating chronic conditions. By providing this financial risk protection, the program offered a literal lifeline to folks who would otherwise face total financial ruin just to stay alive.
Part 5.
The no-confidence vote.
But despite those welfare initiatives, the reality of governing brought severe challenges. His tenure faced rising inflation, currency depreciation, and intense conflicts with opposition parties. By early 2022, the political landscape had fractured. Opposition parties united, and, crucially, defections began occurring within Khan's own coalition. When a no-confidence motion was presented in April, Khan's deputy speaker dismissed it, claiming foreign interference. Khan moved to dissolve parliament, triggering a tense standoff until the Supreme Court intervened, ruling the dismissal unconstitutional and ordering the vote to proceed. At this point, we have two fiercely opposing narratives. The opposition painted a picture of a failed government, citing severe economic mismanagement, crippling inflation, media freedom concerns, and the political victimization of opponents. Imran Khan, conversely, vehemently maintained that his independent foreign policy, which included engagements with China and Russia, angered the West, leading to a US-backed regime change conspiracy. He also accused the military establishment of ultimately betraying his legitimately elected government.
Ultimately, the parliamentary math prevailed. With 174 votes out of 342, just two more than the required majority, the motion passed on April 10, 2022. This etched a new precedent in the nation's history, making Imran Khan the very first prime minister in Pakistan to be legally removed from office via a constitutional vote of no confidence. And yet, even after his removal, and despite facing immense legal challenges, arrests, and imprisonment, Khan's political influence has barely waned. In many ways, his public support has only intensified. As his political and legal situation remains highly contested today, we leave you to consider his incredibly complex legacy. From an Oxford-educated sporting legend and dedicated philanthropist to a controversial anti-corruption reformer and a deeply polarizing populist, has the ultimate all-rounder played his final innings, or is the most unpredictable chapter of his political journey still